Coming up on Chicago Bears Now, we have a jam-packed show for you guys, starting with Ryan Poles hopping on radio this morning in Chicago to discuss his young quarterback and much more. Stay tuned for that as well. Also, the Bears are linked to this offensive tackle. We'll tell you who that is and if they will sign him or not. Of course, the Bears missed out on Nate Herbig yesterday. Todd McShay unveiled his way too early 2023 mock draft, and he has the Bears selecting, find out later in the video, minicamp is underway as well. And plus, Dan Orlovsky is wrong about this. I'll call him out on today's show. All that and more, jam-packed show. This is why you subscribe. Closing in on 48,000 subscribers. So if you want more Bears news and rumors coverage, hit that big red button, and let's jump into today's video. You're watching Bears Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Harrison Graham. Appreciate everybody for clicking on today's show. Like I said, it's a busy one, so stick with us until the end. Let's talk about the quarterback. Let's talk about the GM talking about the quarterback as Ryan Poles hopped on 670 The Score, Mully Haugh this morning in Chicago. Made it clear because a lot of you guys and Dan Orlovsky, which we'll get into later, don't believe that the Bears are all in on Justin Fields. He literally used the words all in. We're all in on Justin Fields. He also said that the young QB is, quote, taking over when it comes to terms of being a leader on this team. Here's what Poles had to say earlier this morning. Quote, he's locked in. He's focused. He wants to be great. He's a first in, last out guy, and he is pulling this team together. His presence is showing up, and he's starting to take over. My level of belief is sky high. Guys, this regime believes in this quarterback. Doesn't mean it's going to work, but they believe in him. Believe me, just because they haven't gone out and spent $75 million in free agency to get elite-level players around him doesn't mean they don't believe in him. What have we heard since the beginning of this? They're not going to come together overnight, but this regime believes in this quarterback. I can promise you that. Do you believe in this quarterback? Do you believe in Justin Fields? Type B for believe, type D for don't. I absolutely do. He's got all the talent, all the skill set to be great. And by the way, this new coaching staff alone is going to help him play better here in 2022. Now, you look at the numbers from last year, and, this regime obviously is aware that he has some things to improve on, but I'll continue to say this. The Nagy offense was so bad that you almost just have to flush the tape. Justin Fields himself said he and Luke Getsy haven't watched a ton of the tape from last year together because I don't think they're utilizing much of it because it's going to be a totally new system, which I think will utilize his rushing ability, get him on the edge, both as a runner but more so as a passer as he can break the pocket and make plays downfield. Now, obviously, we would all like to see this team add another piece or two, whether that's on the offensive line, at wide receiver, or both. And I think that is still a possibility. Ryan Poles actually said, we're never done, which we'll address that as well when it comes to adding talent. They believe in this quarterback. I believe in this quarterback. I know a lot of you do, and I know some of you don't. Sangray Kim, I know you're watching. Bustin' Fields is the nickname you gave him. But I think that this quarterback has a chance to be an absolute game changer for this franchise. Now, Bears fans, we're trying to get more followers on Rumble as we continue to publish content over there. If you want more Bears news and rumors videos, hit that follow button on Rumble, rumble.com/BearsNow. That is the link to go to. You get there, boom, click that follow button. And, hey, the more we grow over there, the more videos we can do over here as well as we continue to expand our brand. So go ahead and follow us on Rumble. Let's go to story number 2 here. Sign Dwayne Brown, the offensive tackle, in free agency. Pro Football Focus says the Bears are the, quote, perfect landing spot for the veteran left tackle, which is still in flux in Chicago, right? If there was a game tomorrow, I believe Larry Borom would start at left tackle, but that's very much a question mark. Right guard is a huge question mark, and I briefly mentioned earlier, Nate Herbig got claimed by the Jets, so he's not going to be the answer there. Brown is certainly getting older. He's going to be 36 this year, but he's a quality vet. On a one-year deal, I think he could give you similar to Jason Peters' production from last year. The Bears need to sign an offensive lineman. Whether it's a tackle, whether it's a guard, they need one more guy who can start. That's just my belief. Now, the Bears might get into these, rookie minicamp this weekend and these other OTAs and offseason workouts and kind of see what they currently have before deciding whether or not to add a veteran at one of those spots. But I do think in the end, they will need to add one more offensive lineman before the season gets going. Here are some guys I would keep in mind between now and training camp. Dwayne Brown, who we're talking about on today's show, a guy who could play left tackle and give you at least average to above average play, which I think is similar production you would get from Eric Fisher. If you want to throw Jason Peters into there, cool. He's 40 now. I don't know if the Bears view him as a viable option. Darrell Williams, who's a kind of a guard tackle hybrid. Now, if he played tackle, it would be right tackle, so you'd have to factor that in. I think right guard would be more likely. Then Quentin Spann and Eric Flowers, guys that can play guard as well. If you add any of these guys, I think they would start for you. The guards, they'd all start over Dakota Dozier or Sam Mustipher at right guard, or one of those rookies at least at this point in time. Larry Borom, I think Fisher and Duane Brown would be more safer options if you want to continue to let him develop. Get one more guy in there, and I think you'd be better off, which was another thing Ryan Poles was asked about on the radio. Hey, how do you feel about the roster? Are you going to add some more pieces? And he said this, quote, "We're never done. This front office is going to be relentless with talent in terms of pursuing talent, looking to upgrade the roster. He just has a more patient approach. He doesn't want to overpay, especially since this team's going to have about $60 million in dead cap. Shout out Ryan Pace for that one. Now, what do you guys think is the bigger need on the offensive line? Do you think it's guard or tackle? Type G for guard, type T for tackle. What do you think is the bigger spot that needs to be upgraded before this season? I think you could go either way. Left tackle, right guard. You both need a piece there. So G for guard or T for tackle. Now, Todd McShay unveiled his way too early 2023 NFL mock draft, and he's got the Bears going wide receiver, and this has been a popular pick among early 2023 mocks. That is Jordan Addison out of the University of Pittsburgh, who actually may not be at Pitt after this year because he just entered the transfer portal, but monster season in 2021 for the Panthers playing with Kenny Pickett. 100 catches, almost 1,600 yards, 17 touchdowns, 16 yards per catch. This guy is a beast. He is a monster. The wide receiver class was good this year. I think it's even better next year, led by Jordan Addison and Jackson Smith in Jigba. Now, I did mention that Addison did enter the transfer portal. There's NIL stuff flying off the walls. I won't break down NIL to you guys, but looks like USC, Texas, one of these programs, trying to reel him in. So we'll see where he plays this year. But the point being, the talent is established. The production is there. He could come in and be, a number one receiver in the NFL one day. I think that's very much possible. And if you bring him in with Darnell Mooney, you'd also still have Velus Jones under contract. Maybe Mooney and Addison are your 1-2 punch, whatever order you want to order it there. Then Velus Jones is your do-it-all guy. That would be a fun trio in 2023. You bring him in or Jackson Smith and Jigba, if that's who you end up drafting, let's ride, because I think that would be a lot of fun for this 2023 Bears offense, of course. We got to get through 2022 first, but interested to see where you guys weighed in on this mock from McShay. Also, based on what you guys know, and I think both are terrific, which receiver would you rather have for 2023? Type JA for Jordan Addison, type JSN for Jackson Smith and Jigba. Both are fantastic. Obviously, Smith and Jigba and Justin Fields overlapped for 1 year at Ohio State, so some familiarity there if you wanted to go that route. Curious to see what you guys feel on this one. JA for Addison or JSN for Jackson Smith and Jigba. All right, we got some stuff to break down here because Dan Orlovsky has been going after the Chicago Bears and Justin Fields and the Bears offense in terms of not helping Justin Fields. He hasn't been going after Fields specifically, but he basically says Fields is screwed because the Bears have done nothing this offseason to help him. So let's go ahead and break this down. Dan sent out a couple of tweets, and I know he's talked about this on ESPN a couple of times. He tweeted this one out first. Justin Fields has 2 pass catchers drafted in the 3rd round or earlier. 2, a 3rd-round rookie receiver, that would be Velus Jones Jr., and a 2nd-round tight end, that would be Cole Kmet. He doesn't have a number 1 or a number 2 wide receiver, which is blasphemy. We'll explain in a moment. His starting wide receiver unit consists of undrafted Byron Pringle, 5th-round pick, which would be Darnell Mooney, undrafted, who is he talking about Equanimeous St. Brown, I think he was drafted. I don't know who this other undrafted receiver he's talking about is that's going to start, because I don't think that's going to be the case. If he plays well, he will be in the MVP combo. So he's basically saying if Fields plays well with garbage on his team, which it's not garbage, by the way, he will be in the MVP race. He also added this, respectfully, Chicago Bears fans, because Bears fans went after him, obviously. Here are some number 2 receivers: Mike Williams, Chris Godwin, who would be number 1s on most teams, by the way. Adam Thielen, who Mooney was much better than last year than Thielen. T. Higgins, similar numbers to Higgins last year. Michael Gallup, better season than Gallup last year. Mooney had Devontae Smith. Mooney had similar numbers last year, and he was their number 1 last year in Philly. I guess now with A.J. Brown, he's a number 2. Tyler Lockett, similar numbers as well. He's off base here for a number of reasons. Number 1, Darnell Mooney had over 1,000 yards in the NFL last year, which was 19th in the league, 17th among receivers, which, let me do some quick math. If you're 17th in receiving and there's 32 NFL teams, if anything, you could argue he's a number 1. I am not even saying that. I'm just saying he's clearly established as a number 2. He's got 1,700 yards in 2 seasons playing under Matt Nagy's offense. He has proven to be a good player in this league very, very quickly. Now, I will say this. Dan is right. They need more. The Bears do. But don't disrespect Darnell Mooney because he's a 5th-round pick. It doesn't matter that he was a 5th-round pick. Had Darnell Mooney gone to Texas Tech and was a 2nd-round pick, Orlovsky wouldn't say this, but since he went to Tulane, was a 5th-round pick, and no one watched the Bears last year because they stunk, Orlovsky, well, they don't even have a number 2 receiver. No, Darnell Mooney is established as a number 2 receiver in this league. The question is whether or not he can be a number 1, if he can establish himself as that, which is what I tweeted here. I tweeted Orlovsky is off base. Darnell Mooney established himself as a number 2 receiver in the NFL last year when he had over 1,000 yards in the Bears' trash offense. The question is whether or not he can elevate to being a true number 1 this year. Excited to find out. Look, I'm not going to go crazy and say, yeah, he's a surefire number 1 right now. I think he's a really good number 2 with the chance to prove that he can be a number 1 this year with the better offense entering year 3. Lots of reps with Justin Fields. Let's find out. I think at worst he's a number 2. Maybe he can become a number 1. Danny O, get back to not stepping out of the back of end zones. Darnell Mooney will have 1,150 yards in 2022. That's what I'm setting the over-under as. Type O for over that. Type U for under. If he goes over, it's only 100 more yards than last year. I mean, he had a really good season last year. Just no one noticed because this team was garbage. O for over or U for under. Quickly subscribe, and this is why you subscribe, because you know what? I watch this team day in and day out, game in and game out, unlike Dan Orlovsky, who I actually like a lot of the work he does. He was just off on this space. Subscribe to the channel, spread the word. If you want the best Bears news, rumors, and analysis on the internet, we got you covered, youtube.com/BearsNow. That is the link to share with all of your buddies, but for those watching, just click that subscribe button. All right, real quick, Bears rookie minicamp notes as things get underway today. A couple of rooks met with the media today. Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, Velus Jones. We'll talk a little bit about Jones in a moment. 42 players in total will be at Bears rookie minicamp. 36 rookies when you factor in undrafted guys and guys coming in on a tryout basis as well. 4 second-year players, I think, and then 2 veterans, including Maurice Kennedy, a cornerback who spent some time with the Cowboys, so I found that one pretty interesting. Here's what Velus Jones had to say because he was asked about being 25 years old as a rookie. Is that a disadvantage? He actually thinks it's an advantage because he said this, quote, "It's a benefit because I'm coming in with maturity. Now that I'm older, I realize what's at stake. I'm ready to establish a role to help this team win games." He also talked about FaceTiming with Justin Fields, texting him, getting that relationship built right away. I think this Jones kid's going to work out. I really do. Now, maybe he's just a 4-year player, and at the end of the contract, when he's 28, 29, they say, you know what, we'll let him walk. Guys, teams are doing that already. The Titans didn't want to pay A.J. freaking Brown. The Seahawks are debating whether to pay DK Metcalf. 49ers may not pay Deebo Samuel. Like, those are stars in this league that teams are letting go before their rookie contract even adds up. So let's not worry about 4 or 5 years from now. Let's see what this kid can do right away. And, if he gets a second contract, that means he's a damn good player. If not, that could still mean he had a good rookie contract with the Bears. They just didn't want to pay him. So I'll worry about 2026 when we get to 2026. I think for now he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he's going to be a good weapon for this offense. And when he said, I've been FaceTiming Fields, I'm mature, I'm ready to go, got me fired up. I'm ready for football season already. We're barely into the month of May. Type me if you are fired up for the 2022 season. I know I am. Jam-packed show today. Hope you guys made it to the end. Everybody that types me below, how about this? First 10 people that comment me, I'll give you guys a shout-out on next week's video.